5 teams entered. There were balls. There were cars. There was a whole lot of talking. But in the
Some
end,
of it unheard.
a lot of it unheard. Or bad quality. But in the end, only one pair remained. Congratulations to Skitty and Leaks, the champions of the first ever Talkin Carball Invitational.
An elite duo.
An elite duo, an elite event all around. Thank you so much to anyone who participated. Always thank you to anyone who's listening to this, but all the people who tuned in too. It was a really good time for both Colin and me, and I think from everyone I talked to, pretty much just positive reviews. So I would not be surprised if on the horizon there was a TCBI 2 announced.
Yes. And if you didn't get a chance to play or watch, in theory, the VOD is getting posted to the YouTube. If not, it is available on my Twitch for, I think, approximately 3 more days. And then I think Twitch takes it down.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch back. Lot of big moments in there. And I think every single team won a game. Is that a correct statistic?
That is a correct statistic.
So surprising parity for a tournament that contained everything from bronzes to champ 3s.
Yes. And it was won by 2 plats.
Yeah. Oh man. What a wild ride. But on to is it time for real Rocket League, or do we want to?
I think it's time for some real Rocket League. We have some news, as half of the RLCS scene has their splits ended. So we have some roster news. Stormtroopers disbanded. That is the roster of Tho, Ocelon, and Dead Monster, I want to say.
Yeah.
They disbanded. Pittsburgh Knights are releasing Alpha Kep and are expected to sign J. Russ in his place.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if they can become relevant again.
Yeah, and I think they're also wait, so they're keeping Sosa and Omar?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason I thought they were just keeping Sosa. I saw that somewhere, but that makes more sense. Like they were just rebuilding there, but more of the story is this iteration of the PK roster is dead.
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah, right now the roster is just Sosa and Omar.
Understandably, too, the they have not had the best start to RLCS 3.
No.
Have they made a main event yet?
They made one.
Okay. Which compared to last year, where they were pretty firmly a top 16 team,
they were in the winter major last year.
That is insane.
Which I guess 12 teams made, but still.
Yeah, it's a completely different like thing than what a major means now, which is great because a major actually means something now. Well, last year was just a blur. But I'm really excited to see J-Russ come back. I really thought when he retired, he would be someone that we pretty much never saw again. But not only to see him sort of like hang around the bubble scene with Manzana, but now to likely get signed by a decent org, like props to him. And I mean, I think he's a very solid pickup for PK. I don't know if that team is necessarily top 16 caliber, but it's definitely a damage team.
But they should definitely be in the close qualifiers, which we really haven't seen them in a whole lot recently.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think like JRS compares to Alpha Cap?
I mean, JRS was always very mechanical, which I think is good. I mean, I know Alpha Cap's been grinding. I think he's like number 1 in threes or something like that, or like top 5 in threes ranked. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
he definitely does. I mean, it's like one of those things where like I don't think it's not like they're making a roster. Like it's not like J Russ is necessarily a tier above Alpha Cap. You know, they're different players, but I would sort of like rate them around the same spot. But it's just like one of those things where you hope that the new roster boost is enough to sort of propel them forward.
Yes. We also have Spuda is leaving Ghost. He's their sub. Not the most. Maybe he was the problems behind Ghost.
You know, it's probably not going to be the first leaving Ghost message
No.
we see in the next month or two.
Nope. Tristan is benched by E United, and I don't think we have an update on who they're looking at replacing him with. But he's been moved to the sub spot along with Tyler Bates.
The EU sub spot is just full of CRL legends. I got a hot take for you.
Yeah.
I think the RLCS is harder than CRL.
Just maybe.
Just maybe. But it is a shame to see someone who is quite literally the GOAT of CRL never be able to put it together like in RLCS. Like E United has pretty much not like I'm not blaming Tristan, but it's just a shame that E United has pretty much never been good during the time they've had him because he is pretty crazy. But obviously like in the RLCS they're playing a completely different game than the tier 3 and I mean the CRL is arguably like tier 4, tier 5 in terms of like the ability of the players.
Yeah. And I always hold on to the fact that Tristan absolutely clipped on me in a Boomer Mode tournament one time.
That might be the most impressive thing I've ever heard live on air.
Clipped so hard on me. It was insane.
Poor little PS4 Colin couldn't hang.
Yeah. It was bad. It was like the semifinals of the tournament that I just kind of like scummed my way through by not doing anything cool and just hitting in open nets.
The Boomer Classic.
Yes. And then we also have Erased, the former Noble roster, is rumored to be signed by Team Secret.
Shh.
Yes.
A team that way back in the day was in Europe actually. So you know, a very decently sized org, but you know, maybe we'll get some other big orgs coming back into Rocket League. Hint, hint. I'm trying to give Cloud9 an opportunity to bait here.
I'm just looking at the Team Secret former roster of Continuum, Tylactho, and Flame. And then they replace Continuum with Freaky.
Yeah, this is some OG type.
And Tigre.
This is some OG. This is the pre-Veloce roster. we are down in the depths here.
Just then they became the Melon Squad, and then they got signed by Veloce. And then they became Top Lokes. Wow.
Yeah. That was the Freaky Flame combo. Not the Freaky Flame combo. The Casio Flame combo.
Yeah.
When they dropped Flame for Archie.
Yes. No, they dropped Freaky for Archie.
Freaky. Oh my god. I've never in my entire life been able to keep Freaky and Flame straight. Never in my entire life.
Yeah.
But great little tangent there.
Yes. Let's go on to the Mountain Classic, sponsored by Cronovi. And it was actually really cool to see Cronovi on the desk all weekend or on Sunday.
Oh, that is super hype. I hope that like I obviously I love all the current talent that we have, but I don't feel like we've had enough like people with RLCS experience. Sort of
recent RLCS experience.
Recent RLCS experience. Sort of like move into that role. So that is 100% a major positive.
Yes, I would agree. Because I think the only former pros on the roster are people who haven't played since like season 3.
Yeah, pretty much. But what happened in the Carnovi Classic?
Not a whole lot. Just the greatest team of all time coming out and dominating North America.
Showing,
That's what I saw.
yeah. Oh man, I'm struggling not to get ahead of myself here. We're gonna turn to the V1 podcast.
I don't see a problem with that.
Talking V1.
Coming soon. Colin solo podcast where I just talk about version 1 for an hour and a half every other week.
And then queso on the off weeks.
Yes.
Oh man, you want to start with the groups?
I want to start with the grand finals, but I'll go back to the groups.
Maybe if you want, I don't know why you'd want to gloss over the groups. The groups were
The
great for
groups are
you
pretty
too.
good. Well, first, I guess as we go through, I will go over my predictions and what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Group A, version 1 got first, perfect sweeping the groups, going 9-0. As predicted, randoms in second. General NRG then had to beat Shopify in a tiebreaker match to secure third and eliminate Shopify from major contention.
Yeah, everyone saw the 3-1 win for randoms coming 6-1 game 3. Of course.
Yeah, and NRG was very clearly not full go this weekend. That didn't slow them down a whole lot, but they were definitely off on day 1, going 1 and 2 and having to rely on that tiebreaker. But V1 came out firing, sweeping everyone.
Yeah. I mean, other than if NRG aren't playing at a high percentage, then V1 is pretty clearly the best team in this group. But major shouts out to randoms. I mean, I don't know if orgs are taking as much notice, but the amount of like hype I heard about Chronic and Two Piece after this event was just off the chains. So those guys are probably gonna get some trials and offers from other teams. It'll be interesting to see if there's like I don't know how much they are following the Queso story, but that's definitely kind of like very much equivalent to two players like Vatira and Joyo in the North American scene, where if they believe in their partnership and they can find a third that fits it well, they could do some damage.
Yeah. And I predicted version 1 to win the group, and you predicted NRG to get second. So 1-0 me.
I would like to get 50% credit because the only reason you put version 1 first is because I didn't put NRG first.
That is true. But I did put version 1 first.
Yeah.
And on the official scoreboard, that's 1 for me.
Score don't lie.
In Group B, you predicted all mid to get third. I predicted all mid to get fourth. I was correct. All mid went 0-3. FaZe Clan won the group. Team Envy got second, and Rogue got third.
Turns out I can't use my horrible predictive powers to help myself.
No.
I couldn't swing that. All mid were just a tier below all three of these teams. I mean, Envy obviously haven't been playing up to expectations this split, but if you were to sort of like just purely based off player talent, I think that this is about as chalk of a group as you could get.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been shocked if Rogue got second, but they did lose that first round matchup 3-1 against Envy. But everything else, I'd say, went pretty chalk.
Yeah, I'd say like in terms of like how deep I'd bet for two teams to go in a tournament, I'd put Rogue and Envy very similar, but I don't think that that's a good matchup for Rogue. So
Yeah.
I was very not surprised to see that loss, and I mean, teams did take some games off FaZe, which is kind of new for group stage.
Yeah. FaZe dropped 4 games between Rogue and Envy, but they
Atrocious.
go 3-0 in the bracket.
Yep. Sweeping, not sweeping. Yes, sweeping every single group. They've
Yes,
gone to the upper bracket every single event this split.
but not much further.
Not much further.
Group C, you predicted G2 to win. I predicted Oxygen to get third. And the group was G2 1, Sonic second, Oxygen third, and Charlotte fourth.
Yeah. I'm
Oxygen actually on the brink of not making out of this group. They won a Game 5 overtime against Charlotte 1-0 to avoid going 0-3.
the crazy thing is like when you look at this team devoid of like the results of the season, like Sonic's, Oxygen, and Charlotte like should be so evenly matched. I do think Oxygen are better than those two teams, and obviously they've shown it. But I think this was a little bit of a reminder of like kind of where Oxygen should be punching and just how much they've overachieved this entire season.
I would agree, and I think you could. I don't know. I feel like Oxygen is just barely kind of scraped by being that team that is firmly the 6th best team in NA, where they're definitely not 5th,
Mm-hmm.
but they're better than anyone below them. I think they're kind of sat right where they should be.
Yeah. And I'm not like saying this in terms of like taking away from their accomplishment, but they have gotten really, really friendly draws both in their groups and sort of like in their later bracket runs. But they've absolutely taken every single chance that they could get. Well, obviously it didn't work out, but they nearly took every single chance that they could get to qualify for this LAN, which would have been absolutely insane. Like V1 are already like sort of like, I mean, I can't say, I don't think either of us are crazy shocked that this like on paper this team could have easily been the top 5 team. But like the fact that Oxygen were this close was just utterly insane.
I mean, yeah, they're getting a little ahead. That lower round 1 matchup against Space Station was absolutely massive for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, V1 was peaking, so
Mm,
they didn't get enough done for that. But if V1 had slipped up at all, Oxygen would have been in.
yeah. And I just think that kind of comes down to V1 being the better team.
Yeah.
They're just so ridiculously talented. I'm sure we'll talk about it more. But yeah, Group
Yes.
C. I mean, not exactly how you'd expect, but
Oh, I don't know what you're
nothing
talking about. We
exciting.
nailed our picks.
Yeah, we did.
And then Group 4,
Man.
I predicted Torrent to get second. You predicted Torrent to get fourth. Torrent screwed us both by getting third. And Complexity won the group. Space Station got second, Torrent third, and Xset got last. And I will say, I believed in Torrent, mostly because I heard Magic Bear was peaking in
Mhm.
the AAA tournament last week.
Yeah.
So I wanted them to get out of the group, and they did, and they had a good tournament for them overall. 1 and 2 in this very, very challenging group. Very, very impressive. Also, Complexity beating Space Station. Space Station clearly not having their best day on Friday.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to watch too much of Space Station, so I can't speak to exactly what like sort of like the dialogue coming out of the players was, but it sort of like seemed like the way they were talking like they were trying out a different play style. Like the message was after this they're like, okay, back to like how they were sort of thinking about things in Regional 1. So I don't know if this was like sort of like an unsuccessful limit test or what, but as you said, um, Space Station by no means should have been in remote trouble of not qualifying for LAN going into this tournament. And my God, did it get close?
They were 2 Oxygen series away from not making it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, Complexity looked better. here than they pretty much had the entire season. But you'd still peg Space Station with everything on the line to be able to clutch that out if they are truly a top 4 team in NA.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back games, back-to-back series where if they win, they're in against Complexity and Oxygen, and they didn't get it done. They, still made it in based on what they did in previous events, but not what you want to see. No clutch from Space Station going back to the tiebreaker last season and even the matchups that led into the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and like the whole boot camp narrative from last season, I don't know what those guys kind of got to figure out psychologically, but I mean, maybe they just need a lucky break and they got it. So
And Daniel will be the youngest player to ever play at LAN, passing a record held from the very first RLCS LAN set by none other than Garrett G.
that is actually one of my like favorite statistics I've ever like seen in Rocket League. That is so insane that like the player who held that record for youngest player to ever attend a LAN is still at the level that Garrett is. Just
Yeah,
what a ridiculous career in player he has been for the past 5 years. It's just absurd.
first ballot RLCS Hall of Famer,
Yeah, no
guaranteed.
no doubt. Certainly for NA.
Um, and so the playoffs, I was locked in on the Space Station Oxygen series, but the other games I haven't. Whereas Energy from the lower bracket took out Envy 3-1.
Mhm.
Torrent took out Sonics 3-1. I didn't get to watch this at all, but I'm curious to know how Random swept Rogue.
Mhm.
And then the last matchup was Oxygen beat Space Station in Game 5, 3-2. Very tight series. Very nerve-wracking series for me. Just hoping that Oxygen got eliminated. But yeah.
No love for Gim.
Yeah, well.
He's dead to you?
I mean, it would have been cool to see them get third, but at that point I was mostly focused on version 1 getting in and
Yeah.
not knowing that version 1 was going to win the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
By
But
the situation in my mind in this one was if Oxygen loses, V1 is in, and assuming Oxygen beats randoms in the round 2, that would mean version 1 would at minimum need to get top 3 and hope Oxygen loses to the loser of FaZe in G2.
mhm. Which I mean, obviously with the way things played out, but if you were to show me this bracket at the start of Saturday, I think that I very easily could have told you FaZe were gonna lose to G2 and then Fora, whoever they played in the lowers. Because that's just like death taxes and FaZe just crapping on teams that are worse than them. So but we can get into that later. Um I don't even the narrative going to the Rogue Randoms game. The narrative like immediately coming after this tournament was that Rogue need to make a change. And I think it kind of just like depends on what their priorities are. Like there are things like as crazy as saying axe all their points and get Chronic and two piece basically pull a liquid. To just saying like Taroko needs to go, he's the one holding this team back. But I don't necessarily think that there's a massive problem with sort of like the spot that Rogue holds right now. And I don't know if they necessarily need to blow things up. I mean, the people saying that are probably right that this team, with the pieces they have, won't make top 4. They will never be a top 4 team in NA. But I think that there is a world where like in the spring they are very much competing for that 5th spot.
Do you think my only concern with them is can they put together enough results to overcome Oxygen version 1, theoretically a rebounding complexity, and maybe an envy after a roster move that should be improved?
Mhm. I think that these 3 players together could, but I don't think it's likely. So, in that sense, a roster move makes sense. I certainly don't think they should get rid of both players. Um, I don't know how well, like, Gyro's a very unique player, and even though he's, like, quote, unquote, "a more experienced player" and, like, less cracked than, the next generation, I don't know how well a team, with him sorta as the anchor for 2 cracked out children works. So, I mm, I I don't really know how this team gets better without getting rid of 2 pieces, and then at that point, you're just looking at a completely different team.
Yeah. And well, I think we can go a little more into what we think teams should do. Maybe leading up to the major, we'll do a full roster move prediction breakdown type thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But
But this one just the narrative was already there. People are
yes.
already just attacking, which is not surprising with Rogue fans.
Um, Lower round 2, going
Mhm,
into Saturday, we had Oxygen absolutely destroyed Random. Actually, it was decently close, but it never really looked like randoms were in it. And then Energy Torrent was a surprisingly exciting series.
mhm.
Um, Magic Bear absolutely peaked early, and Torrent really put up a strong fight, but Energy was never going to get top 8.
Yeah.
They're never going to go out that early. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Captain America doesn't let that happen. It would have been pretty funny if Torrent had won and, Complexity and Torrent played against each other in the most pointless top 6 game in RLCS history.
Yes, I mean, even still, the Complexity Energy series was also pretty pointless.
Yeah, that's that is very true.
And then going up to the upper semis, which were the next matchups, G2 clapped phase, except for in classic phase form. They're never going to get swept because they'll blow the other team out one game. At least once, they're just going to blow the other team out for no reason.
Well, the reason is that the way they play against the best teams, well, just the way they play in general is not sustainable if the other team is as good as they are. And so, if you give them 7 games or even, like if you give them like more than 3 games, at some point, like what is their greatest weakness is also going to be their greatest strength, is that they just play with so much speed that even they can't handle. So it's I don't know when that pattern is going to stop, but this is just such a this series sums up phase this split so much. Every single loss, 1 goal game. And you highlight that spot on the single victory 5-1. It's just silly at this point. This team is just silly.
Yeah. But G2 looked really good. Like everyone in the on the desk was like, all right, everyone's been waiting for G2 to collapse, but they're not gonna do it. They're
Mhm.
so good now. It's just not gonna happen. Uh don't look ahead, G2 fans. But the next matchup was version 1 versus complexity. And this one was a nightmare for me. Version 1 go down 0-2, losing. Well, they actually game 1. They played really well and lost. Just couldn't finish really. Game 2 complexity was just better. Then they called the timeout. Game 3 was V1 looked back to how they were on game 1 and got it done. Lost game 4 in overtime, so now it's 3-1. and then V1 turned it on, winning the last 3 games of the series.
Yeah, for me, the biggest takeaway here was just we've talked about it a little bit. That's sort of like one of the biggest things holding V1 back is just like ice in the clutch moments. It's something during the entire sort of like history of this team in Rocket League they have never had. Hence the Game 5 meme. And it seemed like every single important moment in those last 3 games like went V1's way. You know what I mean? That was a product of them taking their chances. So I think that like this series was a huge step in version 1 like gaining the confidence to go on and win the whole tournament.
Also, this tournament as a whole might have cost the version 1 organization some money, as they might need to invest in flying Torment and Beast Mode out to boot camp every regional now, because they were boot camped and it certainly looked like it helped.
Yeah, the old endpoint buff.
Yeah,
Works.
they're
Invest in your players.
really the only team, one of the only teams in NA that's boot camping. Obviously, Complexity does, but I don't think anyone else does.
Yeah, not that I know of. And the results at this point may not be statistically significant, but they speak for themselves.
Yeah. All right. The lower quarterfinals. What do we have? FaZe Clan smacked Oxygen, eliminating them from major contention and saving Space Station's day. Twitter was pretty funny during this whole series, especially when Oxygen went up 2-0 in game 1. The Space Station players were like, "This has to be scripted," and I think Gretos tweeted something along the lines of, "AJ, if you guys 4-0, I'll gift you 100 subs on Twitch," which he did follow through with after FaZe swept. Game 2 had a slight Talkin Carball level production, where they went to the Oxygen winner hype chamber screen right after FaZe scored a 0-second game tire, just to to not show us the first 15 seconds of overtime.
Oh, dude, that game 2 had one of the most heartbreaking moments I've ever seen in professional Rocket League, where I can't remember if it was 2-0 or 1-1. I think Oxygen scored to go up 2-1 with like 4 seconds left. And then off the kickoff, it was like a 50-50 into like a jam or something, and the ball popped up, and Toasty just whiffed. Full boost, like 100 off the kickoff, like straightforward aerial that anyone like in champ would hit, and it just like it hurt so bad to watch. It hurt so bad to see like his reaction. And after that moment, this series was just so washed. Oh god, I didn't need to think about that again. You're just watching someone's dreams die, man. Like, God.
But for Oxygen, 3 top 6s, significantly better than only making 1 regional.
Insane consistency too. So
Most consistent team NA.
yeah, I don't know about that.
They got the same result every time.
Yeah.
They
What
ignore
about
energy in the grand finals every time.
I guess you're right. If you average it out, is literally the same number, but they have a mean, median, and mode of all the same value.
Yes. And then we also had Complexity versus NRG. Complexity won game 1, and then got smacked for the rest of the series.
Energy, most adaptable team, arguably in the world.
Yes. I wanted to check a stat here. Squishy 1.8 demos per game is the stat I wanted to see in this series. Squishy went on a rampage.
Yeah, for Squishy, that is like psychotic stuff.
NRG is like been one of the last teams to, embrace the demo meta.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're kind of leaning into it a bit now.
Yeah. Other than Garrett, no one really likes to get down and dirty.
No.
Certainly not Squishy. So that would be very interesting to see if they can sort of iterate in that level. Not that they really need to, but maybe to compete with BDS, they would have to.
Yeah. Let's see. Upper finals, I think, is the next game that took place on Championship Sunday. Version 1 versus G2 to go to the grand finals. And this was a very tight series for the first 4 games. Actually, it was honestly an interesting series for the first 4 games. You guys have probably already heard this, but I'm going to go through the shot counts for the first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
G2 13-7, G2 13-5, G2 13-7, and G2 16-6, outshooting V1. And it was 2-2 by the end of that. And then the last 2, version 1 outshot them 9-5 and then 8-6. And once you start to outshoot G2, I think you pretty much are going to beat them. But it was the amount of saves coming out. And I'm looking at the stats, and it says Torment has the least number of saves on the team across the whole thing. But the insanity of the saves that Torment gets are ridiculous. Like, it's like he's last man. You're 99% sure it's going in the goal, and he comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, his read of the game defensively is like no one else is even close to on par, and that brings so much value to any team. Let alone when you have beast mode and calm just doing so much else around the field. That's just why I loved this roster when it came out so much, and I'm so happy that it's pretty much especially like I mean this moment right now is when we're seeing this team like play to like its potential, which you don't always get to see with rosters. Like there's so often where you get like 3 pieces together and you're like, okay, like these guys are all insane, like it makes sense on paper and it just doesn't really work, but like this run and I think like beating G2 with these kind of stakes is like as good as it gets in terms of a team achieving its potential.
Yeah, and I think the biggest difference it has made is this number right here. Calm 2.3 demos per game, leading the entire tournament. Just having beast mode has enabled Calm to just go out and hunt. And not even just demos. The amount of times he bumps people out of net for free goals, I would say like 60% of version 1 goals are scored within like 10 seconds of Calm bumping or demoing someone.
Yeah, he's so fast, and I mean even more credit to that. Like I think that he's got this season he's shown he's got a really good understanding of how and when to be disruptive, because that's like what makes that play style work is when the person you have going for their bumps and demos when they know the right timing, and when the other players have enough faith and trust to like capitalize. Because if you bump or demo someone and your team isn't there to capitalize, that just means you are equally out of position as the person you just bumped and demoed. And so it just credit has to go to all 3, but you're so right that has been a huge evolution for version 1, something they certainly didn't have in the past.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the demo numbers. Unshockingly, number 2 and 3. You want to take a guess?
Beast mode and calm?
No, 2 and 3 in demos per game. Calm was number 1.
Arsenal and Rebels?
Yep. Clearly, you can demo too much.
Yeah. as shown by our threes games.
Yes. um, our lower semifinal. This was a game that going in, I was very uninterested in watching this happen for the 18th time of NRG versus FaZe, just knowing NRG was going to win. But
Yeah.
it was a very back and forth series, very good. Came down to a 4-minute, 15-second overtime game 7. Really one of the best FaZe has performed against a top team, but could not get it done. Lost on a ghost touch, which is a little unfortunate. I don't know if you saw the AJ tweet.
Oh, I did. I did. And it's the game, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But FaZe this year are 0-3 against NRG. All 3 series have been game 7s of very different, like you said, this one was completely back and forth trading games last time they played. Very much not the case, so I guess this is a positive compared to a reverse sweep. But the narrative of FaZe like not quite being able to put it together when it really matters, whether that's luck or just clutching out, continues to be true. And it's going to be very interesting to see because they looked so good in person and on LAN. And I don't feel like they're necessarily going to be coming in with like, I don't think that this split was like, has proved that this roster works quite yet in the same way that it has for V1.
So you said FaZe is 0-3 against NRG.
Yeah.
And in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And they are 0-2 against G2.
Yeah.
It's 0-5 against the top 2 teams. They're clearly a step below right now.
Yeah. But just like the contrast of how well they play against like the lower tier teams, you feel like this is the best team in the world.
Yeah. But if you want to look at, a team that knows what it's doing, if this will load real quick, just bear with me while I do the numbers.
Is this a V1 stat?
This is absolutely a V1 stat. Why does this one have the old logos? Interesting. V1 is 2-1 against NRG. And against G2, I believe they are 3-0.
Wow. The beast mode,
yes, 3-0 against G2. So against those top 2 teams, 5-1, as opposed to 0-5. V1 better than FaZe? Question mark. Very big question mark. Actually, as I was watching this, I really wanted FaZe to lose because I feel like V1 matched up worse against FaZe than any other top team.
Yeah. Have FaZe and V1 even played the split?
They played in the lowers in the first regional.
FaZe ran them like crazy. And that's why bad. I can't say that V1 are a better team than FaZe because I 100% think if these 2 teams play in any competition, FaZe is winning.
But yeah, so NRG beat FaZe, moved on to the lower bracket final where they played G2. 3 overtimes, NRG won all 3 of them and won the series 4-1. G2 looked a little off on Sunday.
Yeah, which is something they've kind of struggled with in the past. I mean, honestly, like, especially when you take those shooting statistics into account, I think they were probably just kind of boomed. Like, it's the classic G2 narrative is it like their playstyle works until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, it's just like sad banging head against wall. And I think that I think they had a concussion after the V1 series.
Yeah, they won game 4 to avoid getting swept, but Energy was winning that series the whole time. It was tight, like a couple overtimes, but once Energy went up 2-0, it was pretty much over.
Anytime these 2 teams play, it's going to be at least exciting.
Yeah. which brings us to the grand finals, where, as we've seen time and time again, if a team runs through the lower bracket and then has to come to the grand final and try to reverse sweep, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters who it is.
But last time Energy were in that position, they almost nearly pulled it off, and V1 were able to just sort of like stomp out the fire. Be like,
I think there's a difference between losing in the upper bracket final and then going to try to reverse sweep or try to bracket reset, then coming through from the playing back-to-back lower semis, lower finals, and then grand finals, all 3 in a row.
I think that that's a really good point. Not even just sort of like the mental side of it, but also too, like in that situation, like where you lose in the upper final, you've already played that team and you've had like sort of like time to think about it. Where Energy have just like gone through this whole freaking run, and then there's just a new challenger standing and waiting for them that they have to beat twice. Come on.
And V1 looked good. They looked really good in this series. I mean, insane. I was looking at the overall event stats for the Octane ratings, and Beast Mode and Calm were 2 and 3 behind only First Killer. So they were peaking.
Yeah. And I think a lot has to be said for that boot camp buff. For I mean, I don't think like boot camping really is a turnoff for anyone. Sometimes LAN is a turnoff just because it brings extra nerves, but I don't think there's any real downsides like the camaraderie and like additional time you can like spend like thinking about the game together. So just such a massive result.
Yeah. And the players made a point to give credit to Fireburner, where they did like full-on replay analysis, all looking at the same screen together and really like adapting their playstyle before the game, planning on who they were going to play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think like VOD reviewing, like in other games, VOD reviewing is more like specifically VOD reviewing opponents is more like important than in Rocket League. But I think that like being in person maximizes like the impact it can have because people just can't tune out. So that's honestly really cool that they gave him props, and just the fact that they were able to capitalize so much on this opportunity. They're going to go into LAN with so much confidence. It's still going to be hard being the 4 seed coming out of NA, just in terms of like seeding. They're probably going to have a really tough group, but just a really cool story.
I mean, winning this, they passed Space Station. I think there's a big difference going to be between that 4 seed and the 5 seed. It could allow them to avoid like BDS.
Yeah,
or it'll be the 1 seed out of EU.
I just thought about the fact that the major is going to have the same format, and it made me so sad.
Yeah.
We really want to LAN to come down to a group stage.
Apparently,
frick, man.
But aside for awards, I don't have one. Let me try to think of something quick. Do you have anything?
I'm just thinking about the format now, and I'm sad. Let me. I would like to give the Schoolyard Bully Award to FaZe for stealing all of North America's lunch for the past month. They are just so mean to the little kids on the playground, but the minute the middle schoolers show up, they run away. We'll see if they hit puberty before they have to go to LA.
All right, I thought of an award.
Okay.
It's the Cockroach Award for Just Won't Die. And that goes to NRG for literally having to play a tiebreaker match in their group stage and still running through the entire lower bracket and making it back to the grand finals for the 3rd straight time. Just go away. You clinched the 1 seed on day 2. You didn't need to run through phase and G2 to make the finals.
At this point, it's just for fun for them.
I don't even think they're having fun. They just do it because they can.
Yeah, well, I think that's fun for them. Well, what better power trip than that?
Whoa. It's insane.
Yeah.
All right. Minor region time.
I'm excited for this.
We had LAN clinching games. That's the link I want. In Australia, Oceania, we had Ground Zero win the event and not go to LAN. Kind of funny. 3 separate teams won an event in Australia this split. And two of those teams are not going to the major.
Yep. Welcome to 2-team qualifications.
Yeah.
That
Pioneers consistently not winning, but consistently good enough to get the points.
Yeah. And I just want to say, so both KCP or P and Dire Wolves did not win their groups. And so they were going to have to basically go like for like in a lower bracket run. Whoever went further was basically going to get that spot. And I am so sad that Dire Wolves slipped up against Team Bliss because we were so close to getting them make the parallel run into the lower semifinals and run into each other. But obviously, Pioneers absolutely took care of business for winning Riot, which was the team that beat Direwolves in the group stage. And Direwolves not able to take it over Team Bliss, which was the team that beat Pioneers in the group stage. So through a little bit of is that the transitive property, commutative property?
Yeah, transitive.
Yeah. Through the transitive properties, we did get that matchup in KCP 1.
Yeah, they won 8-3.
You got to include the other. I'm gonna shut up. Never mind.
Were you gonna say you have to include the game against Riot?
Yeah, and the group stages, and I mean, if you're doing true transitive, but yeah, Ground Zero, gonna be really sad not to see them at LAN, especially with such a good performance. You know, I think they still are the second best team in OC. I just don't know what they were doing for the first 2 regionals.
Also, if you ignore the quick 4-0 in the lower bracket finals by Ground Zero, we essentially had a best of sets game 21 versus Renegades versus Ground Zero, with Renegades winning the first one in game 7, and then Ground Zero winning series 2 and 3 in game 7 as well.
Yeah. I'm just sad that literally none of the 3 teams that were so close to each other played once. Anywho.
Anyway, Renegades are the Australian 1 seed, and Pioneers are the Oceania 2 seed, with Ground Zero about 200 points behind, and then Direwolves 10 points behind them.
Yep.
All right, over in the Middle East, where I don't even need the link to tell you what happened, Sandrock won. They clinched their spot in LA, and they clinched their spot at minimum in the World's Wild Card.
Oh man, that's big for them.
I mean, it's big, but also not unexpected in any way.
Yeah. Cool to see. Just never that there was any doubt, but I'm happy that we're going to see Sandrock going back into LA in full power. I hope that Khaled is able to go and play and we're able to see him on the big stage.
He should be.
Okay.
Someone tweeted at I think like in Civic saying like, I hope we can, or maybe it was the Sandrock account. I don't know. It was like, I hope Khaled can play this time. And they replied with, well, we have good news for you, or something along those lines.
Okay,
So,
good. But speaking of that world championship wildcard spot, just for something slightly interesting in the Middle East, there is only a 40-point gap between the Ultimates and Falcons heading into the final split, which is pretty exciting. Those two teams are going to go blow for blow in top four matchups for the whole rest of the season.
yeah, and disappointing regional for Sites actually going out top 8, because they were also competing. But because what's important there is if Sandrock can hold on to their like get top 8 every time and get directly into the winter major and not just a wild card, that would allow 2 other teams from the Middle East to go into that wild card spot. So it could be 3 Middle East teams in the entire like world's competition type thing.
That would be so sick. I hope Sandrock puts on a show again,
Mm,
especially because we had them as number 5 in our power rankings.
did we?
Yeah,
Oh, good on us.
good on us.
APAC South. Who do you think won this one?
Pulse Clan.
Well, 3 rats, but yeah.
Pulse. Yeah. Yep.
I've lost all my Liquipedia pages, but yes. 3 rats won. Hashtag sign 3 rats. They're going to the APAC qualifier. We predicted them to win that and go to the major. Should be super exciting to see. They only dropped 5 games, all 5 against AHA in the upper finals and grand finals.
And it's who are the team joining them in the APAC qualifier.
Yes. I am hoping to actually watch that this time. So I think it'll be exciting, and it should be at like 2 a.m. my time, which is doable.
Yeah. I am so stoked to VOD review and watch, like, just get caught up on minor regions. It's so much fun. It's like hard to invest the time to keep up during the split just because there's already so much Rocket League, but this is a time when you sort of get to celebrate all the different games going on.
Starts at 3 a.m. my time.
Oofs in chat.
The finals is at 8:45 for you. You could watch that maybe.
Oh, I'll be up for that. That's what I did last time.
But yeah, that finishes up our minor region review. 3 rats have won every single event, as has Sandrock. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Copa de Rocket League.
Wonderful.
If you aren't excited, you should be with that name.
Oh, I am stoked out of my mind.
Close qualifiers are interesting. The teams that went 3-0 were Guild and Navi. So I might have to predict Navi to win a series this time. 3-1 were Carmine, Luminosity, and Rix. Carmine losing to Guild, Luminosity losing to Pepito's Canyons, and Rix losing to Carmine. And then our 3-2 teams that just squeaked in were Williams, Cuxer's Minions, and 0-0. The teams that didn't make it were Pepito's Canyons, Singularity, Heroic again, Savage, who have consistently made the close qualifiers but are not making the main event, Wild, Stormtroopers, who disbanded, and then the 0-3 teams were Liquid and SK. Liquid obviously had high expectations, didn't get it done, but I still have faith in them to come back next split and be a force.
Yeah. Hopefully the tweets coming out of Acronic did not seem like he was taking this as a learning experience. but hopefully it can be. I mean, they played double O. I mean, 0-0. That's never gonna stop. They played 0-0 and Luminosity. Like tough. Like I mean, those are very much top 16 teams. So kind of got like diffed there a little. And this is oh man. I hope that they can like look at this the right way because they should be better off having this experience than worse. But I could see it going both ways.
I mean, tough draws, absolutely, but that's what happens when you're a team that has 0 RLCS points.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, 2 of their players are still 14. So
not,
going down
not,
0-2 might not have the composure.
Not as of today.
Oh, did someone turn?
I think Atao turned 15 today.
Oh, nice.
Happy birthday, Atao, from the Talkin Carball podcast. I know you're out there listening.
But yeah. So we have our groups for the third split, and we have our predictions lined up. So groups are: Group A is BDS, Misfits, Luminosity, and Cuxer's Minions, which is brutal.
Oof.
Group B is Dig, EG, Carmine, and Rix, also an oof.
Mm-hmm.
Group C is Queso, Vitality, 0-0, and Guild. And Group D is Endpoint, Semper, Williams, and Navi. Europe is deep.
Europe is real deep. Facts.
Yeah. There are 3 teams in each of those groups that I believe in could win the group. Almost.
I would agree with that statement other than Group B and Group C.
Well, Group C, I was counting the teams not named Vitality.
I don't think 0-0 is taking that, buddy.
Probably not, but you never know.
I would take 0-0. We'll get to that later.
We'll get into it.
We'll talk to the group.
Mm-hmm. All right. Predictions. Group
Cuxer's
A.
Minions.
You're taking Cuxer's Minions to finish 4th.
Yep.
He had a bit of a death group.
I'm taking the RC Babies to not quite piece it together. This group is ridiculous, and I feel like Luminosity's in the same group as BDS every time. And this format sucks. And yeah.
Honestly, at this point, my biggest issue with the groups is the fact that you play the same teams every week.
Yeah. Who's getting second?
Do we get a Misfits V1 parallel?
Yeah. I mean, so far they're kind of like the fall. They're on a very similar narrative arc.
I'm going BDS, second in the group.
Oh my god, if Misfits win, that would be so huge. If they can just freaking get into top 6, just take the pressure off. Oh my god. Please.
All right. Group B. You're predicting, or I guess I'll go first. But
okay.
I know what that doesn't really matter. I'm gonna say EG gets 3rd.
Okay. Who are you thinking is getting second?
Carmine.
You're out of your mind. They're getting last. I'm sorry. When I spoke earlier, I had something in my throat. I meant to say Rix. Or as I like to call them, Rixnatas.
Rixnatas.
Rixnatas. But this is the week that Dig finally win. And by that, I mean I say it and Carmine somehow wins the group and I cry.
I wouldn't be that shocked. All right. Who's getting second in Group C?
Queso.
Disrespect.
It's
but also I can see it.
It's guild season, baby.
I'm predicting
guild gang. Sorry, I'm not done.
I'm predicting who's getting last in this group, and I'm going with easily the worst team in the group, Team Vitality.
Oh my god. Vitality are getting 4th in Group C, and Carmine are getting 4th in Group B. I'm so
French
done.
supremacy is dead.
I'm so done with the French.
Group D. Who's winning that group? For me, I am going to go. I guess I'll go.
That's a brutal
You
group
know
to try and
what?
predict the winner.
Does Endpoint have the ice?
I think they probably do. They need it,
Yeah,
man.
they do need it.
They need it.
I was gonna think maybe Semper, turns it on for once.
No, I think Semper are getting third.
I think Semper getting third. So you
I
have
think
you have Williams is in there. You probably would pick Williams to win the group.
I mean, I didn't get to pick my one.
I mean,
Let your imagination.
I wanted to predict Navi to win a series, but I can't predict them to win the group.
Yeah.
So
I think Semper are gonna get sent down to the lower bracket in either second or third and ruin someone's day. They're gonna
hopefully not Misfits.
probably Misfits. There's a 90% chance it's Misfits. So look forward to me crying on Mike all next week.
I'm not crying on Mike at all because this has been the greatest split of my Rocket League fandom history.
Yeah, you've had a tragic Rocket League fandom. Normally, I would say that's not saying much, but your two teams have been absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I went from, I think, last season, I think my teams combined had one top 4 appearance and one major appearance. And now in this
Clarify,
split alone.
Colin's European team was triple trouble.
Yes. Yes.
You did win a grid, though.
Well, that was before I was even a fan. Yeah, and then they didn't even exist for the winter or for the spring split.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then this split, I've had 2 wins and a grand final and a top 4.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for V1 and Queso to be put in the same group at LAN.
I just want another Talkin Carball Invitational.
Starting it right now.
We were we were so close to playing against each other. We almost had we like to talk about the Colin Austin derbies when our teams play each other, but we almost had the Colin Austin TCBI derby.
Wow.
That would have been absolute scenes. Guess we'll just have to wait.
I have to run it back.
One day.
Except
someday.
I'm retiring from competitive Rocket League. I'm going into casting full time.
Yeah. And broadcast.
Yeah.
So they should just scratch
and
all
production.
the infrastructure. They should scratch all the infrastructure they have for the RLCS LAN and just have you solo run the event.
Yeah, streaming from the same computer that I'm spectating from, which is also just a laptop.
Oh, that would be so funny.
Me just on Discord with other casters.
Bringing them in every once in a while, just hopping into the green room.
It would be a mess.
It would.
Similar to the TCB podcast.
Yeah.
Just wanted the last point. We finished up our predictions for NA in the winter. You went 3 for 12.
Nice.
Bringing your overall NA predictions to 3 for 21.
I don't miss.
I went 7 for 12, bringing my overall NA predictions to 12 for 21.
Slightly more respectable.
Yeah, just a bit. We're gonna have to figure out some way of doing a prediction for the spring when it's just a double elimination bracket. So if you guys have any ideas on what we could do there, let us know. I don't know, in an ideal world, we'd have 5 predictions to kind of set it up like the actual league where each split is worth more. But yeah.
We predict the entire bracket.
No.
Miss. I mean, you hit your prediction plus 1 point. You miss minus 10.
We would be so far in the negative.
I think we could do a perfect bracket.
I mean, this would be the easiest format to predict the full bracket for.
Logistically, yeah.
Just because you know who teams are going to play.
True. Oh man, does that do it?
I think that does it. Thank you. I guess it's my job to close this off. Thank you, everyone, if you're still listening. We appreciate you. If you're not, screw you.